Hey, what's going on, guys? We're back again for another one. So, I figured today, actually, this was something that came to mind, and what came to mind was my son had a couple of friends over, and kids are naturally, obviously drawn to the aquarium, and not everybody has a saltwater aquarium, so of course they came up to the tank and I was kind of just checking the kids. They're enjoying the tank, but they were picking at the edges of the aquarium. So like this, where the silicone lies, right? So essentially, they were running their hands kind of like along the edges in here, kind of picking at the silicone. And again, you try to be gentle with the kids, but at the same time, it made me think, what actually causes leaks in an aquarium, right? I've heard of you know, came across a social media post and, there's water all over the ground, the tank burst. Like, what actually causes a tank to burst? And, basically all of the livestock and water and create a huge mess. Like, what would cause that? So, based on a little bit of research that I did, number one cause would be a failing silicone seal. So that's the big one. So over time, of course, the silicone that holds the glass together, guys, we don't want to pick at that. Okay. So the reason that it would crack is because it dries out with age. And, another secondary reason would be, you know, people peeling at it, right? So initially, it can also come down to manufacturing. A lot of these tanks, like they do offer like 1 to 2 year warranties. Like initially, before I bought the Fluval, I was actually looking at tanks on AliExpress because they had like these cool all-in-one cube tanks that came with accessories all ready to go. And initially, in my mind, I thought, oh, maybe I'd get a 10-gallon. I could get two of them. Like basically $300, have them shipped to my door. They come with skimmers already built in. For 150 US dollars, I felt, for each aquarium, I thought, oh man, that'd be cool. And then of course you start looking at water volume and you're like, no, that's just too small. So, the other thing that came to mind, I want quality, right? I want something that's going to last. I want something that's not going to break down. And essentially I come home one day, right? And I'm sure this happens. I'm sure it has to happen where you have a huge aquarium for a lot of years. You're not really paying attention to, what's, the wear and tear. And, all of a sudden you have a huge mess to clean up and you're having to restart things from ground zero. A friend of mine recently, he went on Craigslist, bought himself a nice, big tank, probably too good of a deal, right? Like, one of these Red Sea tanks, right? Older generation tank. Got a steal of a deal on it for $150, of course. Too good of a deal, probably easily worth $1,200 plus, maybe even $2,000. Although it was older generation, and of course he ended up filling the tank after putting a lot of elbow grease to cleaning it up, getting all the accessories, getting all the lighting, and it had a leak, so he wasn't able to complete it. He ended up turning around and selling that tank. So guys, if you're buying used, again, pay attention. Like, have a look at the reviews of the seller. Like, there's actually people out there that go and pick up fish tanks on Craigslist and resell them. And, hopefully the tank, if you are buying a used tank, whether it's from a reef community or Craigslist, have a look at the tank closely, make sure it's not cracking or peeling, right? Those are big things. Also, I was reading that algae scrapers, like, rough cleaning can, especially along the edges of the tank, can cause problems. So, the other thing that came up was cracks in the glass. So sometimes, I had, when I was looking at tanks, I'm like, oh, wow, that's a cool fluval. Maybe, somebody was walking along the edge. Like, you can kind of see, like, my tank is kind of on the edge of a hallway. Very easily, somebody could walk into it. Of course, we want to be careful, right? That's what I always say to my son. Just be careful. Be careful around the tank. But we see our goby. To be honest, guys, I have not seen the pistol in a little while. I'm hoping he's okay. I did turn on the wave maker. We can see more flow. This guy doing quite well now, right? Anyways, got a little distracted there. But still got some cleaning left to do. Gonna hit up the aquarium store and get some accessories I bought to help with aquascaping. So I'll show you guys that in another video. But getting back to, cracks and chips, right? So guys, if we're moving our tank, again, just be real careful when you're doing that. The other thing that can lead to problems in the integrity and structure of the tank is not having like proper support, right? So if you have it on furniture and the furniture sinks, it can probably warp your tank, right? So have proper support. That's why I bought this little guy. It's actually got it on Amazon, fairly good deal, can't complain. So, nice thing about these fluval tanks is they have a leveling mat. So if you're buying some other brand, make sure you're getting a leveling mat. Some of the tanks do include them. But of course, things start to add up. That's why I love these all-in-one tanks. So you want to have even support for our tank. You don't want, stress to build up. Again, if the surface starts to warp, right? You might want to consider getting another stand. I do think that would make, warp the tank over time if it wasn't, evenly supported. The other thing, guys, just like the human body gets older, our tanks get older. That's why we got to look at, taking care of the things we have. As you know, I know all you guys do, but things do break down, right? Actually, my first tank, I gifted it to my in-laws. It's a Fluval 2.5 gallon, and it's still running strong. They stock some goldfish in it, so it's still doing all right. Outside of that, I have a Fluval 9 gallon freshwater tank. More or less takes care of itself, guys. But this is my new hobby now, right? This is where my attention goes. So again, the fifth thing would be things like thin or uneven silicone beads, poor glass alignment during manufacturing, and just the quality of the materials, guys. If you're going to get into the hobby, like anything, right? If you're buying equipment, make sure you're buying reputable quality equipment. It's probably going to result in less issues. And if we're housing livestock, spending a lot of money on our coral, or you want things to last, invest in a nice tank. Treat yourself, guys. I think it's, life is short. We need to treat ourselves, and sometimes we lose sight of that. So, other things that can cause issues in terms of like structural integrity would be like leaking filters, hoses, or air lines. And sometimes like actually splashing from an air stone apparently can cause issues. But don't always just check the glass. Like, check your equipment periodically. As some of our viewership or subscribers have said, is clean your wave maker, like clean all these things, right? Clean your return pump. But again, guys, I think like anything, we got to take care of our stuff. And, we're, periodically, just as you would check your car to make sure everything's good. Sometimes we probably don't check our tires, but, why not, again, if you're maintaining your tank, you probably spend enough time around it that, things are good, right? The edges, everything seems good. So far, one of our viewers had said, just be careful if you're scrubbing the glass too hard, you could scratch it. Still haven't taken the blade to the tank, but gonna get to that. Right now, just following this, because I am going to go to the aquarium store. I'm going to go actually to another aquarium store as well, and I'll be posting that video once I go there. I've actually never been there, but this store has been around about 30 years. They have freshwater, saltwater, And I'm going to check their stuff out. I mean, one of our subscribers had suggested one was a Duncan coral, so looking at getting that, but also have concerns that if I add a Duncan coral, it can replicate and put more strain on my tank. And then the other invert that I was considering adding to the tank to add something different was a sexy shrimp. So if any of you guys have a sexy shrimp and you think that those are cool, let me know if that would be a good addition. Again, I want to take it slow. One of our subscribers complimented me and said, "You're taking it slow. This is good. You're showing reserve." As I said, things are going well. And, again, I want to avoid, any issues or a tank crash, right? I keep being told by my more experienced aquarist reefer friend, Brandon, he keeps saying, "I get it. It's cool. When you put this stuff in the tank, it's cool. And when folks are new, they want to add more." But every time we add more, it maybe puts a little bit more strain on the tank. Like yesterday, this guy wasn't looking too good, right? My neon torch there. But then I turned on the wave maker and he seems to be doing better. Then our hammer's doing all right. Maybe that's a little too much flow. You guys got to let me know. But this guy, once I turned on the flow, look at him. He's doing really well. And I think, he's just getting, the tentacles are like getting bigger and bigger. I do have to feed again today. The goby's probably hungry. I did feed some dry pellets, but again, I think the preference is the frozen brine shrimp. Outside of brine and pellets, is there anything else I should feed the goby? If there is, let me know in the comments, please. But our cleaner shrimp is getting big. Hopefully that's it's full size. But that said, guys, that's just the update for today. I'm gonna go and pick up the aquascaping tools, and then I'll show you guys what I got, and maybe I'll pick up something small. Again, I don't want to rush it, guys. But thanks so much, and have a great day.